Do you have any advice for other international students that may be coming over abroad to America? Any advice that things that you wish you would have known or not known, or advice in general for them?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I would say to any other international student who is coming over here is that don't keep your head down. A lot of the times, because we're afraid of rubbing anybody the wrong way or, messing up a law and then getting deported, it's a lot of things that we think about. There is a lot of things that come into, being careful, choosing your battles wisely.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Career Education Learning Center podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Rivers. I am thrilled and honored to have Zoe Mikioni today on our show. She is from Zimbabwe, an international student from Zimbabwe that came to go to school at Johnson C. Smith University, home of the Golden Bulls here in Charlotte, North Carolina. She is majoring in biology and doing a minor degree in bioinformatics. How are you doing today, Zoe?
I am doing great, Mitchell. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor, and I can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about today.
Well, we're going to talk about you, Zoe, because you are the person I want to talk to. Tell the audience and myself a little about that trip from Zimbabwe to Johnson C. Smith University. That's what we want to know.
All right. So I'm part of a program that is called New Seasons Youth Program. It is a Christian-oriented program that helps African students and students from the Caribbean to have their undergraduate education here in the U.S. So my flight was a 2-day flight, which is weird because when I did go home for the winter, it was a 3-day flight.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's like, there's the connecting flights to Atlanta. It's about 23 hours worth of a flight to go back home. So it's a while. It's a while. But it's, I enjoyed my flight coming here because I was on a 3-seater by myself and it was an evening flight. So I was out for like 10 hours of the 15-hour flight from South Africa to Atlanta. So I had a good time. I am not complaining.
And so did you particularly, when you was in Zimbabwe, so you went to high school in Zimbabwe, right?
Yes.
And so then you came to Johnson C. Smith. Now, did you know anything about HBCUs before you even heard about Johnson C. Smith or when you was thinking about going to school?
I had never heard about what an HBCU is. I didn't know actually that there were like Black colleges, so to speak, here. I just thought every university is the same.
Right.
I only knew about like Ivy Leagues because of, the movies. That's
right.
They don't talk about HBCUs in the movies.
No.
So I did not know it all. I only knew once I came here because even before I came to Smith, I had 2 offers I had an offer from Smith and an offer from Rust College. Okay. And they both had given me like full ride scholarships. So with Rust College, I liked it, but I was like, it's in Mississippi. And in the movies, Mississippi, racism happens.
And unfortunately, they paint those bad stereotypes.
I was absolutely not. I'm going to go to Charlotte because I also grew up in the city. So I was like, okay, Charlotte might be, more for me. So yeah, I did not know about HBCUs until I came here.
Well, we're glad to have you here in Charlotte, and especially at Johnson C. Smith University. And why did you major in biology?
Well, I majored in biology because I want to be a doctor. I want to be a physician. So in high school, I did for the high school back home, it's kind of different from what it's like here. We have 6 years of high school. So the first 4 years are like what we call ordinary level. We follow like the British system of education because we were colonized by the British. Mm-hmm. And then you have the last 2 years of high school, which is where you pick like subjects that you want to specialize in, which is, I think, the classes that you have is AP classes. We take them in depth. Oh, so I was doing classes like math, physics, and chemistry. I didn't do biology, funny enough. That was because I knew with physics, you can still go anywhere. if you
Right.
do subjects like math, physics, chemistry. Then when I came here, I was like, I've been wanting to be a doctor since I was like, I don't know, since I was like 10. And that was like, okay, since Johnson C. Smith doesn't have a pre-med program, the best way to go about that would be to do biology.
And what is bioinformatics?
So, good question. I just changed my minor to bioinformatics like this semester. So I'm still trying to figure out what it is. But I picked it mostly because, the world is moving to AI, it's moving to technology.
Yes,
so
it is.
Why don't I combine my love for bio with, moving with the times as well?
Yes.
They might replace me when I'm a doctor when they create AI bots that can operate people. So I just figured, hey, why don't I just do bioinformatics?
Yes, they may kidnap you like one of those sci-fi movies and put your face on a robot. You be cloned, and they say, "Oh my goodness, Zoe, I am Zoe."
Right? I do not want that.
Where is the real Zoe? Where is she? Now, how did your family feel about you going to school in America? Because, I'm pretty sure they're happy that you made in biology, you want to be a doctor. Every parent in the world always loves when his son or daughter want to be a doctor, lawyer, architect, and all that stuff. But how did they feel about you going to America? You didn't go to Europe. You didn't go to Japan. You didn't go to Asia or South America. You came to America. Why America?
So they were excited, to be honest, because I knew ever since like I was in primary school, which is what you would call middle school, that I didn't want to do like my tertiary education in Zimbabwe. Not because the universities are bad or anything, but I've always been like, I don't want to be caged. I want to experience different sides of life. So I was like, where else to go than the greatest country in the world?
Yes.
America is the epitome of, anywhere that any immigrant would want to go and study. So that's how I was like, okay, America is the place. I did think about places like Canada and the UK, but my heart was already like, I have to go where it's most difficult to get into. I'm going to take that challenge. But they were really excited because, we have our economic crisis back home in Zimbabwe. We don't have violence as much, but we do have the economic crisis. And coming to America, it's a land of opportunities. So they were definitely excited and happy for me.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and I seen your profile when I pick you up, and I said, man, I want to get this lady in my pockets because you are so interesting. And I think that's good what you said, though, Zoe, is that, you want to broaden your horizons as much as possible. And then you're going to learn about different people, different languages, different way of life. And do you feel like you've broadened your horizons or just the stereotypes and everything else since you've been to America?
I think I have. I definitely have, especially this semester where I was traveling, going to different conferences, interacting with people from other schools. I've met even Nigerians. I would never have thought I would met Nigerians if I was back home in Zimbabwe. They would have been there, but I would have never put myself in those spaces where I would meet all those kind of ethnicities. And America is this big melting pot of all these different cultures and people. And I have definitely learned so much from the American culture. I'm still learning, because Black culture here is definitely different from the Black culture back at home.
Yeah.
And it's just astounding that, I get to experience all of this in one country.
Man, and that's great. And that is fantastic. I think Americans ourselves that we need to go to Africa and different countries. And I think I would say high school and college students need to go abroad at least one time, and African Americans, we always say now, especially in the last 5 years, we have pushed for more African Americans to go back to what we call the motherland, to Africa, and explore different cultures, explore different people, and know that we all are alike, right? Everybody in the family, you love each other, we get along with each other. You want best for your kids, like your parents want the best for you. And you find like we have this what seem to be separated, almost what we have in common, and not down those stereotypes that one may have abroad, right? And that's what we want to do here at Career Education Learning Center. I love having international students. I love having students from different backgrounds. And I just love that because it broadens your horizon and you get different ideas and different way of doing things. And this, just make you a better all-around person. Now,
can I interject really quickly, Mitchell? When you were saying, pushing for African Americans to visit Africa. I did realize that because there's such a disconnect, because we're all so misinformed, because there's so many different narratives and stories that go about, oh, Africa's like this, Black people in Africa are a certain way, or Black Americans are a certain way. And coming here, experiencing, the Black culture, I've appreciated it, and I understand all of the disparities and the struggles that you guys face that I may not have faced as a Black person because I am the majority in my country.
Right.
I think that is so important for people to not only take what they see online or take what they see on TikTok or on the news and actually be able to go to these African countries and actually see it for themselves. Like, okay, this is what their lives are like. And it can make you appreciate different cultures as well. I just wanted to mention that.
No, I think it's fantastic because, and I saw there's some good stuff on TikTok, ladies and gentlemen, on social media. There's always the good and bad and everything. And so one of the things that I take as a positive is that when they say that as African Americans and as Black people worldwide, is that as far as Africa was colonized and we went through segregation, right? And slavery and segregation. And so both of us had a history of being oppressed. And sometimes we got to understand that when we was oppressed, for some reason, not only did they not want us to come together within our own country, but definitely did not want to connect abroad, with our African brothers and sisters. And so it's only recently, the 10, 15 years that we have really pushed to know each other. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's what they can bring. And you're talking about conferences. Tell us about one of the conferences that you attended and how that experience can help you as far as what you're learning.
Okay, so one of the conferences I attended, I'll talk about a competition that I actually attended most recently. That was the HBCU Smart Cities Challenge. Okay. I will always talk about this one because it's a competition that I won. So, yes.
I would too.
So that competition was kind of sort of like a hackathon. So basically we were given problem statements from different cities in North Carolina, and we had to come up with solutions to those problems. And these problems weren't just problems that they thought up randomly, but these are actually things that these cities have been having struggles with, like transportation, water management, waste management, public safety, all of that. I remember others had a presentation on like awareness about gun violence and all of that stuff. So with this competition, it's not something I've done before, especially given that a lot of my competitors, like the other teams, they had apps that they made and programs that they had in their presentations. And I am not a computer science major. I do not know how to program. I do not know how to make an app. All I know is how to use my laptop. That is where I end. So with that, it was a lot of exposure to how, so in my team, I was the project manager for my particular team. And it just showed me how there's so many skills that you can learn in different places that you can apply anywhere, quite literally. So even though I was a project manager for a group that was creating a solution for a city that involved some cost benefit analysis. I am not a finance major, but having those skills, learning those skills from that program and interacting with these great people. I met so many people. I met the mayor of Winston-Salem. I met some of the founder of Creed, Dr. I forgot his name, but I met all these great people who are doing such great things in this country. And some of them, they're not as known about. They may not be famous, but they're creating change each and every day with the little things that they're doing. And that was like very eye-opening for me because that was the very first competition I went to. And praise the Lord, that was the competition I won as well. And I enjoyed that so much. And I would continue doing these things because it's putting myself in spaces where I'm learning so much about myself, even, and about, the things that Black people in this country are still doing to get themselves where they need to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And being a project leader, and that's one thing that you learn. And did you learn that you have to utilize, and I had to learn this when I became manager, that I had to utilize the skills of my fellow teammates, right? I mean, you may not be good in one thing, but you have a teammate that's good in that. You assign that to them. Did you learn a lot about as far as maximizing your team and maximizing their strengths and minimizing their weaknesses, and come together as a team and really do it all. Apparently you did, because you won. How was that experience? Did you learn about cooperative, being a leader in that sense?
Yes, I certainly did. It was definitely a little bit hard at first, because I was probably in my head about it, because I was the only girl in that team and I was the project manager. So, as a woman, you want to be the boss, but you also don't want to overexert yourself and present as if, you feel threatened by men around you. But working with my team, all of them had different strengths and different weaknesses.
Right.
I realized that, okay, in a team, you don't communicate to people the same way, because people receive information differently and they process things differently. So I knew that, okay, if I went to this person and I contacted them using this site, and if I talked to them a certain way, they would respond better, and it would make them more interested in doing whatever task that they needed to do. And I did learn to, we were all from different schools. So that also taught me, like, okay, you don't have to have the same background. You don't have to be at the same school to be able to create a beautiful solution that would win you the prize. So I did definitely learn all of that: teamwork, collaboration, definitely empathy, because we're students and we were doing a lot of other things despite this competition. And it was like a 5-month long competition.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like a lot of, time commitment as well, and merely just understanding that, okay, we have different schedules, we're at different schools, we're living different lives, understanding that and trying to integrate it just so that we can work well together despite these differences.
Yeah, that is great, and that's the one thing that leadership that you learn early. That's one thing about going to college, about learning early, because you may be in a leadership position, and by you doing that now, then you'll learn later on. If you're a doctor, you have to lead someone or lead a team to do something, you'll learn that now you can reflect back on what you did to that competition. And each time that you lead a different team or you're leader of a group, then you can take that experience and take it with you. That is great and fantastic. I think you'll learn a lot. And again, that goes to broaden your horizon, right? I mean, expanding yourself, expanding growth. Now, I think someone said this morning, when you have difficulty and challenges, all that is expanding your growth.
Yes.
Each of us go to that. In order for us to grow, we must be uncomfortable. Because for me, it can sometimes breed just boredom and stagnate your growth, because you just go through the motions. But when you are challenged, then those creativity juices come in your brain and you have to expand that. Now, do you work with some young people in like urban Charlotte or something like that? I think I read. Tell us about that, because now you passing on that knowledge that you have to our young people.
Yes. So I was training to be a leader with Young Life, the Charlotte Urban section of Young Life. So Young Life is an international organization. It's a Christian organization. So I came across Young Life here on campus. They have a Young Life club at Johnson C. Smith. So that's where, they saw me dedicated, committed, because I am a Christian. And they were like, hey, would you like to train to be a leader? And I was like, yeah, of course, definitely. So with that came going to like camps, like 4-day camps, weekend camps with high school students, middle school students. I've done a camp with teen moms as well. And those experiences also helped me understand how Americans work, because back home, I was a camp counselor for almost about 4 years, thereabout, off, of course, because it was seasonal, because I was also at school and then my gap year. But yeah, there were ways that we did that team building section, and there's ways that they do it here. And even with the children back at home, I know them because I grew up like most of them. But here it's interacting with younger people who have lived a completely different life, the one that I have lived. And it was definitely intimidating because, you don't want to do too much. You don't want to impose your culture on people and impose, what you also want to make room to accept and understand how the people that you're dealing with work and how they receive things. So it was definitely interesting. I've always enjoyed all of the camps that I've been at. I've met some really great kids and some really great moms who juggle responsibilities that I don't know how they do it, but they are super moms. Those teen moms that I met. And the great thing about it is the people that I worked alongside. I know I've worked alongside people like Mike Slaughter, Sade Slaughter, Kimberly Weaver. I can throw around many names, but they give you so much support. So even though I'm a foreigner and I'm an international student, I never felt like I had to do it by myself. I always had people to fall back on. So that was definitely a great experience for me.
Yeah, and you get all this experience, and that's why I encourage young people, and I did not have the opportunity to do that, Zoe, to go abroad and study. And even if you do an internship or summer programs, a lot of universities now have take trips overseas and, do maybe 2 or 3 weeks, just to get out of your comfort zone here in America and learn more about how other people live. And so that really brought it, because you had to transform from those young people that you knew firsthand to young people you did not know. Yeah. And not only you did not know, but you're in a different country. And so how to relate to those young people from a different country, with a different culture, with a different way of thinking, and to merge that with your experience working with young people that you did before in your own country. That is fantastic. I think you're really broadening my horizons right now. I can grow from this conversation to really get out there. The only growth I had was me, and I'm telling my age again, but going to Desert Storm in 1991 when I went over to the Middle East. And that was my internship. And that was my broad horizon.
It was your broad experience.
Yeah. I learned how to pray a whole lot more when I was over there than anywhere else.
That's still something.
Yeah, you learn the power of prayer when you're trying to come back home. And so that's the thing that we want to do. Now, do you have something to do with, what is the Pathway Community Foundation? I've seen that on your profile. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Pathway Community Foundation is kind of like the parent organization that arranged the HBCU Smart Cities Challenge, the competition I was talking about. Yes, they are that organization. So basically, I think they've been doing this was their second or third year, I think, doing this competition. And they're great people. Their intention is to, expose students to real life problems and help students have like a voice and think about ways to create real life solutions. Because just like I was saying, that the problem statements that we got from the cities were not just random problem statements. They were things that these cities were actually struggling with. And what I love about Pathway Community Foundation is that some of the students that have created solutions for different cities or companies have even gone on to work with those cities and companies to actually bring the solutions that they used in their pitch competitions, actually bring change. I remember they gave us a testimonial about a student who didn't win a competition, but he was so invested in his idea and the pitch that he did. And even up until now, he's still working with the particular city that he built a solution for their problem statement.
Yeah, and you are so involved. And I think that's one thing too, Zoe. I mean, you're not afraid to just go out there. And as we say, go for it, put yourself out there. And so do you think by you participating in organizations, whether at school or out in the community, that has helped you as far as making things easier for you to adapt to this new culture that you experience here in America?
Yes, I definitely believe that because I remember last semester, I was a little bit, afraid, like, I don't want to do too much because, I'm a foreigner in this country. But after going home for the winter, it was like, okay, Zoe, you've got people at home that are so proud of you. You can't just be sitting on the opportunity in America and just be like, I'm just going to go to school and just learn. And that's all you're going to do. Absolutely not. You need all those experiential learning opportunities because at the end of the day, you also want to build yourself. You also want to build your character, your skill set. So definitely putting myself out there has given me more confidence than I didn't know that I had. It has taught me so much more about myself. And I have met so many people who have been instrumental in different parts of my life. And I really think a lot of people, just like I had the fear of starting to put myself out there because it is scary. Putting yourself in places where you've never been before. But I would encourage a lot of people to not be in their heads too much, because once you start, I know once I started, I could not stop. Now my saying no, because I enjoy it so much. I love having a full plate. I love, I don't want to say I love being under pressure, but I enjoy, dabbling in so many things because I learn so many transferable skills and I meet so many people. So I would say whatever you want to do, just go for it. Just do it.
And so that's the thing that we want to do and encourage students to do. Just go for it. Go out there. Whatever your passion is, go for it, And that's the thing that we teach here at the Career Education Learning Center. And that's why I have this podcast to give students like yourself a platform to tell about those experiences. So that way when high school or your peers would do it. What year are you? Are you a junior? Are you a junior, sophomore? What year are you? I never asked that question.
I'm a freshman. I'm a rising sophomore, but
wow. And you doing all this your first year? Wow, you are really out there. I should have mentioned that before, ladies and gentlemen. She is going out there already. I mean, I'm embarrassed because I never went out there my freshman year. I mean, I was at community college, Zoe, my freshman year. I didn't do nothing. I was just going by school to forth. I played intramural basketball. And then I transferred from Central Piedmont Community College here in Charlotte to UNC Pembroke. In my first semester, I really didn't halfway through I really didn't do nothing but go to class, come back and eat, go to class, eat lunch, and that's about it. And then finally they say, you got to do something, man. You can't just stay in there all the time, And so I did start playing other intramural sports and got involved. So that's one thing I think is taken away from this podcast today is to get involved, expand your horizons, enjoy yourself. Because you're telling you are having such a great time here in Charlotte. I mean, you're just jumping out there having a great time. You got me fired up here. They get me want to go. I'm gonna go on campus and do something too, but and everything else. So before we end this great podcast today, do you have any advice for other international students that may be coming over abroad to America? Any advice that things that you wish you would have known or not known, or advice in general for them?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I would say to any other international student who is coming over here is that don't keep your head down. A lot of the times, because we're afraid of rubbing anybody the wrong way or, messing up a law and then getting deported, it's a lot of things that we think about. There is a lot of things that come into, being careful, choosing your battles wisely, but don't keep your head down. Don't be afraid that just because you're not a citizen in this country that you don't deserve as much as anybody else, because you are still human.
Yes.
You still have so many things that you want to do personally, not even just about, being in America. So I would definitely say don't keep your head down. Do as much as you can, as often as you can. As long as you love it, do it. Sometimes even if you don't love it, do it, because you may end up loving it anyway. That's what I would definitely say to another international students that coming here.
Well, Zoe, that is a wise that I would partake, and I'm an international student. But for international students, I'm pretty sure that is some nuggets that they will use, put in their pocket, and bring it over here to America. So thank you so much for coming on our show today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Mitchell. It was great talking to you and, being on this podcast with you.
Thank you so much. And I also like to thank our superstar patrons that helped this podcast be possible, because we have some financial supporters, and this week is Samuel Cole Jr. and Lloyd Rucker. So thanks for those superstar patrons coming and financially supporting our podcast. And lastly, I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for joining me, Mitchell Rivers, on another episode of the Career Education Learning Center podcast, where we're making your career dreams a reality. God bless.